Hi, I'm Lola. This is The Sims 4, and you're about to watch me create a starter cabin. Or at the very least, that's the best way I can describe this build. I didn't plan originally to make this into a cabin. It just kind of turned out that way because it's going to be a little bit dark. The exterior is going to be black and brown, and frankly, it looks great actually. And for once, and it's taken me a few builds to get here, I actually build a successful starter home. This home is under 18,000 and the lot is 2,000, which means this is worth less than 20 grand. And I'm frankly very happy about that. So at the very least, I achieved that. Base game is still a struggle, and I honestly, I think the struggle is that a lot, like, besides the lack of variety of items, in terms of building on a budget, it's just hard to do it with the base game prices because more or less everything is quite expensive, and therefore it's hard to clutter everything. It's hard to make it, like an inviting, completely homey starter home. Or at the very least, that's my impression. Like, is that the consensus of the community, or like, do you personally also agree? Let me know. And if you have any tips about how to make homes for base game that are starter homes that are not as empty as this one, like, I just think that living room area is a little sparse. I think the bedroom and the bathroom are all right. Not everything needs to be completely cramped, which is why I kept the bathroom as a 3 by 3, for example. But like the living room area could use more items in it. Even outside, I solely relied on debug. Okay, that's actually not true. I kept the daisies because the daisies are not in debug, but we can talk about the outside once we get to it at the end. For now, let's talk about the layout. So I kept the layout, the original layout. Right here, I am experimenting a little. Like, for example, where that kitchen, I just put it there briefly. Where it looked good. And I think it would have improved the layout overall and this whole build. But this is the iconic Daisy Hovel, and it needs to have an awkward kitchen, and it needs to have an awkward layout. Otherwise, it's not the Daisy Hovel original, I suppose, you know? So I thought about, for example, maybe extending the kitchen either to the left or to the right, but then you actually have to walk through it to get to either the bedroom or the bathroom, which both of those ideas are just kind of awkward. Instead, I decided to just embrace the weird layout. Like here, I'm trying to kind of, I try to make that side entrance like a mudroom. So I thought about maybe adding an archway, and if I were to do that, I would also extend it to the left-hand side, which I think would have made the layout of the living room a little bit nicer because it wouldn't feel as open. But overall, I wasn't vibing with it, so I kind of skipped it. And honestly, I kind of like how it came out. Like I said, it could use a few more grand worth of furniture and decorations, but that's why I think describing this as a cabin is actually a good description for it. So it's not like cabins aren't overly furnished because they're not overly used for the most part unless you like live in one full time, and it's just a vibe of the build, that's all it really is. And as I was building it, as you can see now, they're like dark rich brown, uh, wood tones are coming through, and the black I think looks really well with it, with the foundation and the brick going up half the siding. I think overall, like, it looks pretty nice, especially with the windows because they're also like both brown and white, and the white interior doors, sorry, the brown interior doors, like, I think it came out quite well together. In the living room, I wanted it to feel a little bit less dark, so I picked a lighter wall color, so it's like that light green. In the bathroom, I keep it blue. I just have a hard time picking which, not wallpaper, paint color on top of the blue, but it stays that white. Just keeping it simple, and that's really, really it. Here, we're back in the kitchen, and I kept that checkered wallpaper. I think it looked better here than in the bathroom. And like that pink with the brown, it's it's a little soft, but like it's also a little dated, and I think that's why it looks so good in that kitchen. Like it makes it definitely kind of a focal point out of that whole room. Because as you saw, the kitchen is now a lot more open into the living room because of that half wall. And yeah, I didn't want to move it. I didn't want to change it too much, but kind of closing it in on both sides, as well as lowering that the the what do you call it? The main wall to a half wall. I think that made it a much more interesting kind of layout and a visual representation of that whole mess that is the Daisy Hovel. Anyways, moving on. Um, I have a sore throat, so if I sound a little bit different, that is why. I'm just powering through because honestly, I have nothing better to do. Just because my throat hurts a little does not mean honestly anything. But I am excited that this build came out so cohesively well. Like I said, I think twice already, so maybe I should not repeat myself. It was a struggle with the budget. I'm getting the hang of base game fairly well. I have been watching other base game creators and just like browsing the gallery a little bit. And Tumblr as well has been helpful in trying to kind of get inspiration to see what people do to make a small starter home in base game. And for the most part, they don't do starter homes in base game. And but they use well, the other thing is I'm trying not to use the tool mod to also recreate items. So like I could make this look very modern if I did a bunch of kind of tricks with re how do I describe it? So you can take, for example, like a box, even make some like the upper cabinets for this one, for this cabinet set, has very lovely wood tones and is it's a very plain looking box, and you can upsize it or resize it and just kind of frame the cabinet with like a modern look that's just like kind of hacked together, and it can look great. I just don't want to bother with that for multiple reasons. One of them is because I'm trying to get familiar with the base game as it is. Maybe down the road that is something that I will do, but for the time being, I really need to get familiar with just the base game as it is, like I just said. So that's why I am not messing around with the tool mod to actually recreate or remake my own furniture in here. And so far, so good. I think I'm learning. It's definitely a struggle bus every now and again. Like you can see here, I get rid of that bookcase, but I add a desk and I add a bunch of paintings on that left side wall as well. A bunch, I believe, is just two. So, like I said, it's a little empty, but that's also what makes a starter home, in my opinion. It is a blank canvas for anybody, whether it's me or you or you know, whoever, to actually move in their sim and then make it their own. It's a con and a pro all in one because it's not a fully furnished, ready home. You do need to make it your own, but it's just a category of houses, I suppose, and I have nothing better to talk about apparently than that. Fun fact: the sad clown, it gets moved to above that console table, and I think I keep the pears. I just switched them right in front of the kitchen. It just seems more appropriate to have fruit by the kitchen. And as far as furnishings outside go, that's pretty much it as well. I do add a trash can, and here I am replacing that bigger um, bookcase with the smaller one. That one little blue sized up plant in the front, it stays that way. And we are now moving on to the outside again. So yeah, I keep the budget. Oh, I lied to you earlier. It's 20,000 all inclusive of the house. Sorry. It's 20,000 exclusive of the lot. So you actually need two Sims to move in here. My bad. So, my bad on tooting my own horn earlier about how I made a starter home. It's a starter home for two Sims. My bad. Anyways, so here I am just kind of trying to make the yard feel less empty, a little bit more inviting. And honestly, I actually think I did a great job. I add a bunch of rocks all around, like not too many, but and the small ones, it's not like overrun by boulders or anything like that. And I play around with the terrain paint as well. It's cute, actually. I really like it. I like it a lot more than the original Daisy Hovel because it's just kind of neither here or there. There's no yard space. There's not much really going on. Again, it's a starter home. I understand why. But like this actually looks inviting to me with all the little details. Like it's not much and you're gonna still have to bulldoze it and like add more outdoor activities to make it worthwhile. But for someone I imagined an elder man living here, like an elder sim that just likes to fish, grill that fish and just read books, you know? Like he's just enjoying himself, enjoying a simple lifestyle, and maybe he even fishes right around the corner because there is not the creek but the canal, and yeah, it's very simple living type of build. But this is it. So thanks for hanging out.
Bye bye.